What's up, guys? My name's Kronk with No Man's Land Intel. Most of you have heard by now that Russia withdrew from Kherson and that Ukraine managed to move back in and recapture it. Some more developments have happened, and I'd like to take a look at them and some of the risks that might be posed for Ukrainian forces as they move forward, as well as some of the advantages that being able to be stationed in Kherson will be able to give them. Let's take a look. So, the Russian retreat from Kherson and its subsequent recapture by the Ukrainian forces is being celebrated the country over, and it should be. Kherson was the largest city the Russians had managed to capture since the start of the war, and it was the last real stronghold for the Russians on the west of the Dnieper River. As we can see here from the larger map, that's the Dnieper. But there are risks for Ukraine moving forward from here. River crossings under good conditions are already inherently dangerous, but doing so under artillery fire is obviously much riskier. In fact, it's the way that Russia has lost quite a few troops already to Ukraine. But the risk is even greater here, because just to the east is the Kakhovka hydroelectric power station and dam. If Russia was to blow up that dam, it would flood the land from there to the Black Sea. It would flood much of Kherson as well, potentially killing tens of thousands as well as any soldiers and equipment trying to cross the river. Furthermore, the seemingly hasty Russian retreat blurs the fact that the Russians have been building up more forces to the south of the river. Also, an investigation of the resources left behind suggests Russia could have kept fighting had they chosen. And so, while this would indeed seem to be a major blow to Russia, it is one Putin chose rather than was necessarily forced into. I think the hope, of course, being that eager Ukrainian forces will attempt to push across the Dnieper, thus leaving their forces sprawled across the floodplain. In a world where the use of nukes isn't being ruled out, it becomes possible that Putin could commit such a destructive act. I think it could even be less politically damaging while being more destructive. And while considering that Putin is in a desperate situation, this makes it a very plausible option. Some would argue this would turn off the water to Crimea, and as such Putin wouldn't do it, but the water supplied is for agriculture, and it's been turned off for years. So this is not much of a loss, and could be retaken later. Certainly it would be worth stopping the Ukrainian southern advance. Of course, Ukrainians are aware of the risk, and have shown thus far to be quite capable planners, and so I'm sure they will find ways to mitigate this threat. But already Ukrainian forces have moved across and landed on Kimbuska Spit. They have the intention to clear the spit and potentially continue to push up along the northern bank. Another thing I'd like to note is that now with the ability to station HIMARS systems all the way up in Kherson, they're able to hit as far away as the land bridge here to Crimea, because the HIMARS systems are able to hit about 60 miles away, and that is almost exactly 60 miles away right there. So that would give them the ability to hit everything along this region and severely reduce the ability of Russia to continue to reinforce through the Crimean Peninsula itself. And by the way, this is probably one of the major reasons that they actually did withdraw from Kherson, is because moving across the river is difficult already, especially since they've had to now blow up the bridges. But the main way Russia moves their troops around is actually by rail line. Let's see if we can get zoomed in here. That's the rail line right there. And it runs all along the Russian front. Well, the rear of the Russian front. So it takes time to shift troops around and react to Ukraine's movements, and doing that plus then having to cross the river probably made it rather impossible. So falling back, they hope to be able to have much more secure logistics and ability to react to surprise attacks from Ukraine. Remember, recently they were able to take a lot of this actually blued-in region up here by tricking Russian forces into shifting their forces to the south to Kherson, and then leaving them with no time to react to their northern aggressions. Alright, well that's all I've got for you guys today. Please maybe like, subscribe, and leave a comment to support the channel.